Today I'm going to be showing you what to brew if you somehow get into a position where you've got way too many hops and need to use them up. Hi, I'm Daryl, welcome to my channel. On this channel I share with you my experiences of home brewing. On this video I'm going to be making a double IPA using fresh hops. This is the final part of my fresh hop series. You can click here and watch the video of me harvesting the hops. You can also click here and you can see a video of me brewing a golden ale using these hops. I had so many hops available to me after harvesting. I ended up having to do a double brew day. And so the first beer was a golden ale. And at the end of that, I realized that I still had too many hops. So I decided that the best thing that I could do was to make a double IPA, as they require heaps of hops. And I also thought it'd be a really interesting way to properly celebrate the hops that I'd harvested. They were mostly Challenger hops with a tiny bit of early bird mixed in, but it was impossible to tell between which hops were which. And to be honest, Challenger is quite a powerful hop over early bird, so I'm feeling that early bird probably brought very little to the table. Now you know all of that, let's get brewing. Before doing anything, I attach my hop bazooka, so to stop the fresh hops causing a blockage when I add the wort to the fermenter. I use Beersmith-Free's water profile calculator, and I set my water profile for a hoppy beer and added the needed salts and a Camden tablet. I left the water for 30 minutes so that the Camden tablet could remove all the chlorine. I added a couple of litres of extra water to this recipe to account for the water absorption of the hops. Your water chemistry is going to be different to mine, so look into the makeup of your water through your provider's website. I find that the hoppy water profile is really useful on Beersmith-Free, and it's the one that I go to most often. I then moved my water to the hob and started heating it whilst I measured out my grains. This is the biggest grain bill I've ever used. A massive 7.3 kilograms of Maris Otter as a base malt, 523 grams of Pilsen for flavour, 380 grams of Munich malt for colour and flavour, 165 grams of Crystal Malt 60 for head retention and flavour, 165 grams of Flaked Oats for mouthfeel and head retention. The full recipe is in the video's description. If you're enjoying this video, then please do like and subscribe to this channel, and let me know in the comments what's the best double IPA you've ever brewed or drank. Whilst the water was heating up, I added my brewing bag, and once the water was up to 72 degrees, I added my grains. The grains cooled the water to my target temperature of 67 degrees. I then put a blanket over the kettle and left it for half an hour before giving it another stir and leaving it for another 30 minutes. After that time was up, I gave it a stir for 15 minutes so to steep even more sugar from the grain. I then did the hardest part of this big beer and began draining and squeezing that grain bag. I had to get some help from Charlotte to get it onto a sieve. I then let my grain bag drain for 15 minutes. After giving the bag a final squeeze, I then got the water to a rolling boil for an hour. Whilst the water was heating up, I measured my hops. Before I shock you with this part of the recipe, you do need to know that when you use fresh hops, you need 5 times the weight of hops compared to pellets. These fresh hops are mostly Challenger hops with a little bit of early bird. So my 60-minute edition was 72 grams, my 45-minute edition was 32 grams, next was my third edition at 15 minutes, which was 60 grams, and my final flameout edition was 220 grams. So altogether, this beer contained 384 grams of fresh hops. Once the water was boiling, I added my first hop addition and gave it a good stir. 15 minutes after that, I added my next bunch of hops. 15 minutes before the end, I added my copper cooling coil, yeast nutrient, Irish moss, and the next batch of Challenger. At flameout, I then added my massive hop addition and let them steep for 15 minutes at 85 degrees. Then I cooled my wort to 40 degrees and added it to my fermenter along with some of my beloved Kveik Voss yeast. I then left it for a week to ferment and bottled. So that was my brew day. If you watched my previous video about my golden ale using these hops, I realized quite late in the process that the hops are actually sucking up an awful lot of water, more water than I was expecting. So I did brew this with more water than I'd normally do. I don't know if I added quite enough extra malt because of this, and so The beer ended up being 7.4%? 7.4%, so a bit lower than what I was expecting, but still within the range of a double IPA if this was being in a competition, which it's not, so I don't really care. But if you do care about those things, then this is legit. There it is. There she is. A wonderful head on that. A fantastic hop smell. Its smell is very similar to my golden ale. I'm recording these videos back to back, so about 10 minutes ago I was sniffing the golden ale, and yeah, they smell very similar, which is unsurprising considering that they've got the exact same hops in them. But I suppose I'm interested by the fact that this isn't more hoppy. It doesn't stink in comparison, despite the fact of having about 5 times more hops. So it's nice and clear, a really lovely golden colour. Really pleased with the colour. The head's holding and looks great. Let's taste it. Heaps a challenger, obviously. A really spicy note to it now. Big bit of citrus. It's got that bitterness that you'd hope to get on such a hoppy beer. You know, it's about 2 kilograms of challenger in it. It's incredibly drinkable. For a beer that's 7.4%, I could easily neck a few of these. This is only the second double IPA I've ever made because of the brew in the bag method that I do. If I make anything that needs a big grain bill, then I have to brew on a day when I know Charlotte's at home so that she can help me lift the bag out so I can put it onto the sieve because I'm weak. But yeah, so I don't often brew double IPAs, but maybe I should actually, because this is really delicious. The problem is though, you make a double IPA like this and it's really drinkable, and then, you know, you drink 2 of them and you've gone to sleep. So maybe one of the reasons why I stick to something more around the 5% range most of the time. Really drinkable, surprisingly easy to drink. You know, some 7.4 beers I've drank before, you know, you need to take your time on, you know, it's an experience. This is too easy. I think I prefer it to the golden ale that I made. I think that the Challenger's bitterness works really well in a double IPA. You know, the big malt bill seems to balance well with that powerful, spicy, citrusy hop. I feel like next year I would happily brew this exact same beer again if I had all of those hops. I think I'd probably swap out the golden ale for something else. I feel like it's made me want to experiment with more double IPAs. As I said, I tend to avoid brewing them. They're hard because of the current brewing system that I have, because of the weight of the grain, because I'm feeble. Obviously they cost more to make because of the additional hops and grain that you need to add into it. You know, it can cost more than 2 normal brew days as such, but then it depends on what hop you're using. You know, these were free, so I was quite willing to make a double IPA out of them. If you enjoyed this video, then please do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really be interested to know in the comments about your experiences of brewing double IPAs with a brew in a bag system. You know, if I made this 9%, I don't think I would have been able to lift it out. I know some people use winches, but I have not got the space for that in my kitchen. Let me know your experiences of using the brew in the bag system, making double IPAs, if there's any hints or tips, because I'm interested in making more. I feel like it's a type of beer that I've not tackled as much as I probably should. Thanks for watching. Cheers.